Fake HOA president knocked over candles at a Vigil crowd, filmed and outed him online. Why would someone desecrate a vigil meant to honor a lost soul? The air hung heavy with grief that evening in Willow Creek, a quiet neighborhood where candles glowed softly, each flame a whisper of remembrance for Emily, a beloved teacher who had passed suddenly. The community had gathered, their faces lit by the warm flicker, sharing stories of her kindness. But then, a shadow moved through the crowd. A man named Carl, the self-proclaimed HOA president, stormed in, his voice cutting through the somber silence like a blade. "This is an unauthorized gathering," he bellowed, kicking over a row of candles. Wax splattered, flames sputtered, and gasps rippled through the crowd. Carl's outburst wasn't just a tantrum. It was a calculated act of control. For months, he'd ruled Willow Creek's HOA with an iron fist, issuing fines for unapproved mailboxes, dictating lawn heights, and shutting down community events. He claimed authority from a supposed election, yet no one could recall voting. His presence at the vigil wasn't to mourn, it was to assert dominance. As he knocked over more candles, crushing flowers under his polished shoes, he sneered, "You're all trespassing on common property." The crowd stood frozen, their grief momentarily eclipsed by shock. But one person, a young woman named Mia, quietly raised her phone, the red dot of her recording glowing in the dusk. The truth about Carl began to unravel that night, thanks to Mia's courage. She wasn't just any resident, she was Emily's former student, now a journalist with a knack for digging deep. While Carl ranted, Mia's video captured every word, every kick, every flicker of malice in his eyes. She uploaded the footage to the neighborhood's online forum, captioning it, "This is who leads our HOA by morning." The post had exploded. Comments poured in, revealing Carl's lies. A retiree named Mr. Jenkins, who'd kept meticulous HOA records, dropped a bombshell. There had been no election. Carl had forged documents, exploiting a vacancy to seize power. Another neighbor, Sarah, shared how Carl had fined her $500 for planting roses without approval, money she couldn't afford. The outrage grew, a digital wildfire fueled by shared stories of his tyranny. The confrontation came swiftly, at an emergency HOA meeting called by the residents. Carl strutted in, expecting to quash the rebellion with his usual bluster. But the room was packed, faces hardened with resolve. Mia stood at the front, her laptop projecting the vigil video on a screen. As Carl's recorded voice boomed, mocking the mourners, his face paled. "This is manipulated," he shouted. But the crowd wasn't buying it. Mr. Jenkins stepped forward, holding a binder of evidence, meeting minutes, forged signatures, and emails Carl thought he'd deleted. A new voice joined the fray. Emily's brother, Tom, who'd driven in from out of state. His presence was the twist no one expected. Tom revealed Emily had been planning to expose Carl's scams before her death, having found discrepancies in HOA funds. The room erupted, demands for Carl's resignation drowning out his protests. Carl's downfall was as swift as it was poetic. Stripped of his title, he faced more than just humiliation. The video had reached local news, and with it came scrutiny. An audit, pushed by Tom and Mia, uncovered thousands in misappropriated HOA funds, money Carl had funneled into personal accounts. The police arrived days later, cuffs clicking as neighbors watched from their porches. Online, the vigil video went viral, shared with hashtags like Justice for Emily and Karen Down. Carl's name became a cautionary tale, his arrogance immortalized in pixels. The neighborhood reclaimed their vigil, relighting candles where he'd sown chaos, each flame a defiance of his cruelty. In the end, Willow Creek found healing through unity. Mia's journalism inspired a new HOA board, transparent and fair. Tom stayed, turning Emily's old classroom into a community center where neighbors could gather without fear. The candles at the vigil burned brighter in memory, a testament to resilience. One question lingers. When power corrupts, who will hold the flame of truth? Share your thoughts. What would you do if a Carl tried to control your community?